Wednesday, the 8th day of May 2024, first day of Rosh Chodesh Iyar, Nisan, the 30th, 5784. Today's special breakfast and class graciously sponsored by Paul and Karen Feldman on the occasion of the Bar Mitzvah of their dear son, Yonatan Besiman Tov, that the Bar Mitzvah is actually today. Additionally, today's class graciously sponsored by Mr. Ike Dweck in honor of Yonatan's Bar Mitzvah's Feldman's Bar Mitzvah, and as also dedicated for the Refuah Shelema of Shaul ben Lora, Gabriela bat Malka, Tzipora bat Marinel, and Hamavdil Le'ilui Nishmat Shelomo ben Esther Be'Avraham Nahmias, graciously dedicated by the Nahmias family. We are only recording today the audio version of this class, not the video version, not to create a conflict with the live stream of Rabbi Haber's Levaya Alev Shalom, Rabbi Menachem, Hacham Menachem Ben Hannah, Rabbi Michael Haber from Brooklyn, that earlier today returned his holy soul to Akadosh Baruch Hu. Definitely a great Talmid Hacham from the Syrian community in Brooklyn, that perhaps many thousands of people, without a doubt, benefited from many of his beautiful books that he wrote, especially to the Syrian American English speaking audience through many levels. If it's on the kosher home, or the topic of Avelut, of mourning, Sidurim, Tehillim, prayers for ladies, books on the holidays, and many other matters which I believe the majority of the Kahal is very familiar with. It's a great loss for the community in the United States, especially in the Syrian community in America, but obviously for all of Am Israel. Is for this many that ask, he's the father of Rabbi Joey Haber, Rabbi David Haber, and Baruch Hashem Moshe Haber. He merited to have sons and daughters that Baruch Hashem follows the beautiful ways of Avodat Hashem, so he definitely will be missed. And Bezat Hashem, may the family and the community have a nechama. The Levaya is being held as we speak in Brooklyn, 67th Street, Magen David, and is being broadcasted live via itorah.com. That's why we decided today only record our class in the audio file for the benefit of the Kahal, and needless to say, those that would like to watch live the Levaya from Magen David, please do so. So today is Rosh Chodesh Iyar, day number 1, so I'm going to save a lot of the Rosh Chodesh Iyar information for tomorrow, the second day of Rosh Chodesh, but I would like to concentrate on the Sefirah of today. Last night we counted the 15th day of Sefirat HaOmer, the 15th day of the Omer. So what is this idea of the 15th day of the Omer? So first we need to understand, excuse me, the beginning of week number 3. If we are on the 15th day, that means that we did 2 full weeks. First week Abraham, second week Ishak, and last night we welcomed Yaacob Avinu. Now what is the essence of Yaacob Avinu? Yaacob Avinu, in a way, represents the combination, that's the proper word, between Abraham and Ishak. As Abraham Avinu represented the left hand, and Ishak Avinu, Mehila, the right hand, Hesed, and Ishak Avinu represents the left, Yaakov represents the middle, the torso of the human body. What is the torso? The merger between the left side and the right side. Bottom line, in English can be called the icing on the cake. What does that mean? Hamavdil. What does that mean? Literally, it means a combination, the crown of a combination. So here explains that Tiferet, in a way, represents harmony, beauty, and balance. Balancing in life. HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the world. The creator of the world, it's called Tiferet. Mefoar. Something beautiful, something elegant. The Mishnah in Pirkei Avot says, "U'ezohi derech yeshara sheyabor lo ha'adam." The famous Mishnah in Pirkei Avot says, what is the best path in life from which to choose from? You know what the Mishnah says? Kol shehi tiferet la'adam betiferet le'oseha. Mehila. The Mishnah explains that is good for the person and good for others. If it's good, fine. If it's not good, take a step back. Goes further. Amen. The Tiferet, here is a new insight. If we have 7 weeks of the Omer, correct? That means that the 7 week, in a way, they are connected to the 7 days of the creation. Week number 1, first day. Week number 2, second day. Now we are week number 3. What happened on the 3rd day of the creation of the world? Short answer. Look in the parasha, the vegetables and the fruits were created. Now, what this has to do with our life? You have a marker, Professor? Wait, no. The 3rd week of the creation of the world. Let me explain. We have the earth, okay? The ground, the soil. What do? We plant the seed. Usually, the seed is planted into the ground. That presence of the seeds inside the ground, it requires 2 elements. Hesed, water, okay, you need rain, you need to irrigate, but here it says something very interesting, that the seeds are planted in one spot, and that spot is surrounded by soil. That surrounding of the soil, it's called Devora. Because what is Devora also? Restraint. Imagine yourself, a baby in the mother's womb is restrained. Same thing happens when you put a seed on the earth, on the soil. The earth surrounds the soil. And then I irrigate the soil. What happens once the irrigation and the seeds are combined? Then suddenly something creates, something comes out. That's the Tiferet. Okay? You like it? It's like you have water and flour. You mix it, you have bread. Good? Hazak. Hesed and Devora, exactly. Now, next. He begins to quote today the Chobat HaLevavot, the Sephirah of today, and he brings the power of light. We have darkness in the world, and we have light in the world. Darkness can exist only due to the lack of light. So far, so good. So he quotes the Chobat HaLevavot, and it says, Kesat or dohe harbe min hachoshech. A little bit of light dissipates a lot of darkness. So it says, in a way, when the good things of the person come out and the reaction of the person are positive, are in a good way, that is the beauty of the person. In other words, even though people determine beauty by whatever beauty means in English, but in English also they say, don't judge a book by its cover. What does that mean? Don't judge a book by its cover. No, it's not limited, this statement, only when you have to deal with a book, but it means in life. Let's say somebody dresses very elegant, very sharp, and he looks good. Does that mean that he's a good person? Not at all. Not at all. Sometimes gangsters, right, are dressed in a very has shalom, right? But they are dressed in a very elegant, fashionable manner. And yet, what they do for a living, whatever, you know what I mean. Okay, so it says here that part of the person that wants to invest in their beauty means invest in your personality to become the best version of myself. No one is going to ask me, why can't you be like Moshe or like Rahamim or like Shelomo? They're going to ask me, why you were not Yosef? You understand? Goes further and it says, what should be the exercise of today? It says, number one, appreciate the beauty of the way HaKadosh Baruch Hu made the food. Look at the table behind me, how colorful it looks. Every food item has a different color. Can you imagine if food will be black and white? Remember 30, 40, 50, 60, I don't even know, 70 years ago, TV were black and white? Hamavdil, okay? And then suddenly color or pictures. Let's make it simple, right? You put black and white, it's not the same impact as color. So Kadosh Baruch Hu gave us an additional blessing besides the food, the nutrition of the food, the benefits of the food, etc. He gave us one more level of pleasure, which is the color, the look of the matter. So it says here that HaKadosh Baruch Hu, every fruit has its own peculiarity. The look, the taste, the flavor, the color of the fruit. How many times you get confused? You see a dice item and you think, oh, it's an apple, it's a pear, or maybe it's a pine. No, it's very easy to decipher the pineapple or celery. You dice them, you cut them into small pieces, they all look the same. Only when we taste it, we know the difference. And if you're in the supermarket, you see the apple is red, the celery it's long and green, and the pear is short and small and green. So it says that part of the exercise of today to be thankful to HaKadosh Baruch Hu for the beautiful way that the world and food and fruits and vegetables and flowers were created. Message number one. Number two, here interesting enough, he quotes a Gemara about praising a bride. Okay? You go to a wedding. Okay? You need to give a word of encouragement to the Hatan and the Kala. And there are different ways of how to praise Hatan and Kala. So the Gemara says, one of them says, Kala na'a bahasuda. Na'a means beautiful and kind. Now, what if she's not beautiful to your taste? I'm not telling you to search and to look, but that's a question that is being asked. So Bet Hillel explains, the Gemara explains in Yevamot, that the beauty that we are talking about is in her actions, in her behavior, and for the husband, she is beautiful. That's the hidush of the Gemara. He's not saying to lie, because you're not lying. You are not lying. And he explains the Tosafot, and it says that the beauty, why Bet Hillel focus in this type of beauty, instead of saying tall, short, whatever description you want to give, it says because the physical external element is not what makes the person. What makes the person is the beautiful personality, like Esther Malka. Remember the Megillat Esther says, "Batehi Esther noseet hen be'einei kol ro'eha." And I apologize in advance. I forgot. Stay here, don't leave. I have it. I apologize in advance. We have more dedication today, Mehila, and I say it now because today is the Yortzeit. Le'ilui nishmat Nechama Devora but Nachman Shmerel, sponsored by Oren and Sara Dayan. The Nefteret Nechama Devora is the mother of Mrs. Sara Dayan. So we say Tizkela Mizvot to the Dayan family for graciously sponsoring today's class. Which minute of the class am I in? 16 minutes? Beautiful. Thank you. I apologize in advance because it's very important on the day of the person's Yortzeit. Is the best gift that we can give to the Neshama. So here explains the following, that what the Tosafot explains, what Bet Hillel is teaching us. I mentioned now the pasuk of Megillat Esther. Let's translate this pasuk. And Esther was finding favor or grace in the eyes of everyone that saw her. You saw Esther, you liked her. I don't know, she had something. Now, I ask you a question. Why Esther was liked by everyone, including Ahashverosh? Not the age. She was 75 years old. We learn around the time of Megillat Esther, she was 75 years old when she was in the palace of Ahashverosh. Now, and the pasuk tells us that based on the advice of the committee of Ahashverosh, they paraded girls from all over, single young girls. And yet, which one Ahashverosh selected? Esther. Why? Hen. She had favor. She had grace. That's why David HaMelech says, Umsahem besechel tov be'enei Elokim ve'adam. Benoach matzahen be'enei Hashem. Noah found favor in the eyes of God. David says, Hashem, help me to find favor in your eyes and in the eyes of everyone. And that's in a way what the Sefirah of today is all about. One more thing. So we discuss with God, Ben Adam le'havero, and now comes Ben Adam le'atzmo, with yourself, with myself. So you know what it says here? Something that we learned a long time ago, that a person, when they go to sleep at night, to do something called Heshbon HaNefesh. Basically, do the accounting of the day. Now, what type of accounting? Spiritual, obviously. So basically, the idea is play a videotape of your day. How was your day? It doesn't take long. Real lifetime could be in 12, 15, 18 hours. Videotape at night before I go to sleep, 2 seconds, 3 seconds, 1 minute, 2 minutes. Now, but what's the purpose of watching the replay? Like in the sports, or a person wants to celebrate a certain simcha, what do? you watch the FCD, the videotape, whatever you have today. So it says, look at what happened in the day, and obviously, for the good things, hazak. But let's say that there was something that happened throughout the day, and our reaction was, Mahila, was not the way it should have been. So you know what it says here? If the person reacted in a very strict manner against someone, or too judgmental, or revengeful, has shalom, go back and ask yourself, what could I have done different to react in a more civilized way? When a person thinks and functions that way, it's like we are polishing our personality. We are bringing a new layer of who I can become in a better way. Beautiful message of today's Sefirah. Let's now go back to the second source for today's class. Okay. There is a chapter of Tehillim, 147. One of the Hallelujah that we say in Shaharit. The Pasuk says, Livnei Orev Asher Ikra'u. Okay? Very famous Pasuk of Tehillim. Hallelujah, Kitov Zamera Elokenu, Kimna'ina Va Tehillah, etc. Now, what is exactly the meaning of this Pasuk? Let's translate it together. Livnei Orev, to the sons of the raven, Asher Ikra'u, they call up Hakadosh Baruch Hu. What is the preceding sentence? Noten livhema lahma. God provides for the animals what they need to eat, and to the sons of the raven that call upon him. What is this meaning? So explains here the Gemara in Erubin. It says, HaKadosh Baruch Hu sends the feeding, the food, to the babies of the raven. What is the raven? It's a bird. What color? Black. But when the babies are born, what color are the baby birds? White. You know what the father raven says? These are not mine. He doesn't recognize them. Why? Because it's a different skin color. And I hope nobody misunderstands what I'm saying. I'm not saying nothing out of line. For the record, today you gotta clarify. Right. But I'm only telling you what's written. So what happens now if these baby birds are abandoned by the father? So who is going to feed them? The father travels to bring food to the nest. Now he says, why should I pay child support if they are not mine? I know it's funny what I just said, but that's basically what he's saying. They are not mine. So what HaKadosh Baruch Hu do? I'm sorry to be graphic. It says in the nest, the birds relieve themselves. And from the defecation, there are worms that are born. Worms, W-O-R-M-S. Worms, gusano in Spanish. And they feed from these worms. And that's why they cry out to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, my father doesn't support me. My father refuses to feed us. God says, don't worry, I'll send you a package, Amazon Prime. Direct delivery, no signature required. By the age, as they grow, they change the skin color. Yes. Now, it goes further and it says, a person needs to understand how many Hasadim, Hakadosh Baruch Hu does with our body. And you know how the Zohar Kadosh calls the body of the person? Tiferet, the harmony, the beauty of the person. Tiferet Gufa. If you look in the, can you have the Siddur, please? Any Siddur. I hope it has what I'm looking for. Actually, it's a Humash. No, bring me a Siddur. From the top shelf. To your left, to your left, to your left. The white ones. At the bottom. At the bottom. That's it, that's it. Hazako Baruch. Thank you so much. There is right here. Right here. There is a prayer that is found in many Sidurim called the prayer of Patah Eliyahu. Familiar with this? Beautiful. Listen what it says. Hesed dero'a yemina. Kindness, the right hand. Gevura, semala. Tiferet, gufa. The torso is the harmony between the left and the right. So it says here, quoting the Zohar Kadosh, think for a moment the importance of Asher Yatzar. That the internal organs of the human body work as a symphonic orchestra. Whatever needs to be closed is closed. Whatever needs to be open for transportation, it's open for transportation. You have a highway in your stomach, by the way. It's called the big one, the digestive system of the person. But this is only on the digestive system. What about all the other parts of the body which are on the torso of the person? Let's go very easy. You have the sternum. You have your throat, comes from the neck down. Then you have the rib cage. Then you have the lungs, kidneys, liver, heart, plus every single part of the digestive system. Call it the spleen, call it the colon, correct? All that, and this without even looking at an encyclopedia, just knowing that how each one of them, which this is besides the blood, the valves, everything that goes, the kidneys, lung, kidneys, every one of these parts, they need to function in a symmetric manner for the proper well-being of the person. So it says here, so how much a person must be grateful on this level of the Hesed that HaKadosh Baruch Hu invests on the person. Additionally, it says there is another level of Tiferet, of beauty and harmony. When you help people, you help people. He brings here a few examples. You help someone with life advice, business advice, right? Somebody wants to do something and it comes to you and it says, I like to do this business. What do you think? You were here in this business 10 years ago. Tell me, is it relevant? Is it important? Certain things maybe 10 years ago may have been great. 10 years later, no longer works. Is obsolete, okay? That is one example. That's called Chokhmat Hayim, the wisdom of life, okay? The more mature the person becomes in life, the more wisdom we acquire. Somebody told me he's going to school. I asked him, before the drama that's going on today, what are you going to go for? He gave me some type of education. I said to him, I'm not against education because you need education. What you want education? Go work with your cousin. That's going to be the best college that you're going to learn in your life. He said, why? Because I told him, statistics shows that whatever a person learns in college, not necessarily it's going to become really relevant in the field. Obviously, we're not talking about accounting, doctors, attorneys. We're talking about business administration. How was business administration 50 years ago? Notepad with pencil. That's what it was, right? Somebody told me that they asked a senior, how did you do your business? He said, I don't know. I started with nothing. Now I own a home and I have 2 cars. No numbers, just the benefit of life. That is one type of hesed. Another one, that's a life experience. Another one, wisdom, can be in Torah matters, for example, or in financial matters, that you help somebody, you guide someone, and you help another person. And that is an unbelievable thing, because the blessing that Akadosh Baruch Hu gives us, we are able to share it with others. As the Gemara writes, who is the best teacher? So it says there are 3 types of teachers. I'll tell you what the language of the Gemara says in the beginning of Masechet Ta'anit. Harve lamadti mirabotai. I learn a lot from my teachers. Begam lamadti mihaverai. I also learn from my learning partners. Umitalmidai yoter mikulam. But from the students, I learn the most. What does it mean? The Gemara explains that when a teacher teaches and the student asks him a question, or even without teaching, I'm speaking now from my professional experience. As you know, I get questions all day long. Some of them are easy, common, simple answers. Some of them, I say, I don't have the answer. I have to do research. Now I did research, researching books, responsa, calling seasoned Talmidei Hachamim who have knowledge or more experience in this matter than the one that I have. So then what happened? The student, yani the fellow who asked the question, brought wisdom into my brain. Because before this question came up, I didn't think. Now suddenly the question came up. Now we are thinking. Correct. And it says that every Yehudi has the power to open the fountain of beracha and abundance. And that beracha comes from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And it says we reciprocate whatever HaKadosh Baruch Hu does to us, we give it to other, we draw a smile in the face of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And that's why it says, when you do something for someone, do it with a good spirit. The Gemara in Kiddushin, we're learning this Gemara Shabbat afternoon, and it says that there are 2 types of children. One child, son or daughter, that feeds their parents, it says, pisioni. Pisioni means dog. Yani, expensive meat, chicken, okay, bird. Sure, by far. So you go buy duck, okay, D-U-C-K, okay? Or there is someone who just went to the marketplace, bought a few grains of wheat, put it in the Vitamix, mix it with water, here, hot cereal, eat it. And it says, one is rewarded and one is not. It says, who is which? So it says, the one that fed the parents, a delicacy, but it was not done with love, with respect, nothing. The one that gave the simpler food, but with love and caring, that automatically brings beracha upon the person. And that's why the Pirkei Avot says, Lo hakafdan melamed. Kafdan means someone that has a short fuse, that reacts in an impulsive manner. Imagine yourself, you have this type of personality and you're a teacher. So what's going to be? People are going to be afraid of asking you a question because they're afraid. Your reaction, come on, you don't know this answer? We have been learning this for an hour. Something so simple. All your classroom knows it. So guess what? The Mishnah in Pirkei Avot says that person cannot be a teacher. Because if the student cannot ask a question, so how can the teacher teach? And that's why it says when it comes to teaching Torah, it needs to be done be'ahava, with love, with patience, with understanding, and, work it out. Obviously, there are people, that's why there are protocols when it comes to ask questions. There are halachot when it comes to ask questions, and the teacher is teaching Torah. What kind of question has priority if 2 or 3 people are asking questions? So short answer, priority 1 is given if the question is connected to the topic that we are learning now. Let's say we're learning now about Omer, and then suddenly somebody says, Rabbi, what's the halacha about Sukkot if there is a hurricane? Today is not the topic of Sukkot and hurricane. Oh, you have a question about Sukkot and hurricane? Faddalu, after the class, when the classroom has been dismissed and everybody's going to recess, then we're going to go. That's why they're halachot, because guess what? If you bring in a topic which is not relevant, you may be embarrassing the teacher. I don't know the answer to that question. I know the answer. But let's say that you ask me a question, and it's not a simple question to answer, because in order to get a better understanding of the question, I need to ask you questions. Was the spoon hot or cold? Was davar harif or not? Or whatever matter. Could be family purity, could be kashrut, could be Shabbat. It is, but it's not the time. But it says the teacher needs to react in a positive way. Because if you're going to jump and tell him, why don't you understand what I just said? That kind of behavior, it turns off and keeps away the student. But it says, but when the teacher, and when I mean the teacher, I don't mean only a rabbi or a teacher. It means even a parent. Even a parent. When a father or mother needs to teach something to the children, it should be done on a good, positive, balanced way. And that is the tiferet in the personality of the person. Okay, my good friends? Chodesh Tov B'Siman Tov. We should have Besurot Tovot for all of Am Israel. May all the neshamot have an aliyah. May all the cholim have a refuah. And the entire Jewish people have a Yeshua. תזכו לשנים רבות. חודש טוב בסימן טוב. ברוך אדוני לעולם. אמן ואמן.